All right, everybody, we are live. I'm staring at one of the lives, wondering if it's actually working. Hopefully it is. Um, it's not great, fabulous. Why should it work? Why would life be easy? So, there. Now we are live across a few different platforms, and then we are making this video for YouTube also, of course. And what we're talking about today is self-care and how important self-care is. And so if you want to put in the comments what self-care questions you have. And the thing about self-care is that a lot of people have misconceptions about what it actually is. I look very tired today, which we will get into later. The misconception about self-care is that it's simple and everyone just needs to put their mind to it and then it'll magically happen. That is not the way it works at all, ever, at any time. While self-care is simple, the implementation is a lot more detail-oriented than anyone wants to consider, because then they would be overwhelmed and not want to do self-care anyway. And so to do self-care, you really have to plan it out to what works best for you, not what works best for anybody else, because what works best for me will not work best for you, will not work best for anybody else. And it also is, when we talk about a self-care routine, we talk about self-care and it has to be flexible, because depending on what you're going through, that's going to change a lot of how you're doing your self-care. And so example is, I own a townhouse and I have a common wall and the new neighbor snores. And for the past 3 months, I was unable to sleep. And I was informed very gently in the past 2 weeks that my lack of sleep has turned me into a right biatch. And so with that, there have been hundreds of dollars of trying to get it fixed, and now thousands of dollars will go into renovating my house so that I cannot hear the neighbor snore. But my self-care had me move from my own house, and now I sleep on a blow-up mattress in the living room. And as much as that sounds so weird, it actually helped a lot. Hello, Raven Rising. Um, to be able to just get away from the noise and be able to sleep. And then the other thing that happened is that the reason for the tired look is that I had to go to a doctor and get a sedative because I couldn't sleep because of the noise. And it's been 3 months and now I'm just jacked, right? And so for my self-care, I actually had to get a sedative to be able to sleep. In the goal that the doctors have, it's like, we want you to sleep for like a few days and then you'll do better. So I'm going live on a whim. I canceled the next few days so that I could look wrecked and sleep all the time. So self-care does have to be flexible. It has to look a way that works for you. And so as inconvenient as it is to lose 2 days of your life, of your week, I like that so much more than what my friends have now called homicidal rage in me. So to prevent homicidal rage, you sleep in your living room and you take sedatives and you hope for the best. And then you hire a contractor to fix your house. Hello, Elijah. So that is a big part of self-care that people don't acknowledge a lot, is the fact that we need flexibility in our self-care. And if you have questions, remember to bop them in the comments, because I am watching the screens. I swear I'm watching the screens. I may look half dead, but I am watching. Another big part of self-care is figuring out your energy cycles. This is something that I talked about on a Mama Genius podcast recently. It was lovely. It's for moms who are also entrepreneurs. That is not me, but it is a demographic that I can speak to with my expertise about self-care. And so it's, how do you know what you need and what self-care you need unless you've looked at your life? So you can do the thing where you blindly start throwing shit at the wall and hope something sticks, or else you can go, oh, you know what? At night, I'm really pissy, so I should be doing my self-care at night to preempt that instead I have the best life. Or you can look at it, when you have the most energy, do you do self-care? When you're the most vulnerable, do you do self-care? Every person is different. So some people, they'll need to do their self-care when they have the most energy. Other people, it's when they're the most vulnerable. Other people, it's when they're the most pissy. And then there are different kinds of self-care for all of that. For me personally, validation and food are like blanket. Most of my friends know I rarely, if ever, need advice, if I need advice, I pay for it. I'll ask a consultant, I'll ask my business advisor, I'll ask a doctor, that type of thing. The vast majority of the time when I'm talking to my friends, they know that the entire purpose is to let me word vomit or vent or just be in a pissy mood. And then them say something like, you know what, you're right, she was a bitch. And it makes me feel better. And so I know that that's a part of my self-care. But then here's another part of self-care. You have to be able to vocalize what you need. So if you never want problem solving and people to give suggestions, which I don't, if I want someone's advice, I say, I'm asking because I want your advice. And that's when they give me advice. People who give me unsolicited advice, I'm like, oh my God, you thought your opinion mattered. It didn't. This was all about me needing something and you not being adequate. That's okay too. It sounds really pissy, but it gets the point across. So what you do is, if you know what you need, tell people. A lot of, even my followers know, my close friends, my followers, my family. It's like, what are you? I am a feral house cat. I require food so often. Um, Not like binge eating, not like emotion eating. I am just happier when I have a snack. And so a lot of people will, I had an ex who was a completely toxic tool bag, except for the fact that he kept chocolate on him at all times. And so every time I got into a mood or got tired or got pissy, he would hand me candy and chocolate. And that just, it was so thoughtful. It was so fabulous. It was great because he knew that food was a good way for me to regulate again. And so tell people, if you know what works for you, you need to be able to vocalize that. Because if you don't vocalize that, why? Like, I love this phrase. I talk about it so often. I do not, if someone knows who the person is, the author of this phrase, please tell me. Um, Unvoiced expectations are premeditated resentment. I love that phrase so much. And this includes your self-care. If you need space to process, but you don't tell the person you're fighting with that you need space, you just give them the silent treatment, that's toxic on your part. What you need to do is up front talk about, like, hey, when I meet someone, when I meet friends and we start like getting along and jamming, and this is actually going to happen later tonight with my friend Megan Rose and Abby Rosemarin, we're going on a Zoom and I'm going to be like, okay, we are now close enough that you guys get to know how to deal with the hot mess of the dumpster fire when I'm dysregulated. And it will be like, food is always number one. Two, I never need solutions. I always need someone to hold space for me to feel validated and safe. Three, like I need time to process. I can never do things I don't do things in the moment well. I do things after. If I'm emotionally dysregulated, I can't do them in the moment. But those are things that you voice to people in your life to make it easier to have them in your life. Self-care is about the self. Absolutely 100%, except it's not. You don't live in a bubble. You live in a world where there are people and coworkers and friends and family and loved ones who may not know how to deal with you. But if you know how to deal with you, it's really unfair and kind of screwing them over to not do that, to not let them know. So let people know and communicate that, oh, this is what I need. This is how I need it, FYI. But you first have to figure out what you need. I do this. There are three big ways that I do this, and I teach this all around the country. You need to track certain things. So you need to be aware of your energy cycles. You need to track certain things. And then if you have no idea what you want to do, you go into different, the word isn't demographics. Someone more intelligent than me will eventually tell me the word. But the brain, like I said, sedatives, lots of sleep. And the sleep was delicious. Oh, I needed it so much. It was fabulous. Yum, 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 yum to sleep. So what came up was your demographics. Again, it's not the right word, but what's your zodiac sign? What's your Myers-Briggs? What's your personality test type thing? And then you go into those and you look at, what does an introvert need that versus an extrovert, and which one are you? while being a Leo rising, which means the sun shines out of my ass and I am the center of the universe in my world, as I should be, I'm fabulous. That's not what I need for my self-care comes from isolation, from being an introvert. I am an introvert. My sun sign is Cancer. My home is Michelle. And being able to work through that is really important for me to know, and then like let other people know. It's like, yeah, I need space. Um, so if you're an extrovert, you should plan outings, you should plan schedules, you should plan human interaction or animal interaction if that's your style, to be able to do things. Versus an introvert, you plan alone time far, far, far more often. Absolutely. Plan your alone time. And then there's, are you perceptive? Are you judgmental? Are you nurturing? There's all these different things. And that's just with the Myers-Briggs. Let's now talk about, and I'm sure I will talk about this so much at nauseum to the point where you are all horribly annoyed with me. And I'm okay with that. I honor that I am really into this stuff. That going into like your zodiac, of what your zodiac is. So me, Cancer is my sun sign. And so my home life is very important to me. And therefore, I need my home space to be okay for me to be okay. So I will clean. I'm not neurotic clean, but if I need something done, I'll clean first. There are Scorpios who are very edgy and mysterious and a little seductive. By all means, get your bell rung, a ding ding dong to the Scorpios. Hell yes, let your freak flag fly. Woo, yeah. There's like Sagittarius, which is such a risk-taking sign, which is such an energy-driven sign that it's like, yes, go out, play a sport, kick the ball around, throw the football with the dad, whatever sports little thing that I am unaware of. Yes, and then so that's the zodiac. And now let's talk about elements. So if your self-care that you need in the moment is water, that is very nurturing, it's very intuition, it's also emotional. If it's earth, it's very slow moving. You should be working on grounding, but you also need to be aware that those are finite resources. Things like time and energy and money come from earth, finite resources. Pay attention to those. Air is very cerebral, it's very quick moving. You may need to do a debate with someone, talk about ideas, have a conversation, be able to really get those inspirational juices flowing. Whereas fire is quick moving, but it's passionate. It's very action based. It's usually very masculine. So it's action, where water is more feeling. So you can do this through Myers-Briggs, you can do it through elements, you can do it through zodiac. In truth, you can do it through whatever kind of personality little niche that you have, but those are the ones that I talk about a lot. And so with doing self-care, you have to be aware of all those things. And I see that there's a comment on Facebook. Speaking of self-care, any recommendations for local Reiki? I want to treat myself after I finish my PhD exams. Raven Rising asked that question. Raven Rising is an awesome pillar of our community, who is starting to become a leader in the community, which is great. And for that, I would say, honestly, I'm a Reiki master. Come to me, come to the best. Why wouldn't you? And they're in Minneapolis also, so it makes it easy. There are most of my clients are remote. Most of my clients are around the world, and so they're not traveling to Minneapolis to come see me. But if you are in the Twin Cities area, yes, there are in-person sessions available. But with clients doing things around the country, how is it possible to do your self-care? I honestly, this is such a hack that I love talking about. One, because it involves like me and my services, and I love my services and I love what I do, and I geek out about it so hard. But the other part is, honestly, people think self-care is all about the self, which it is. And if you are having trouble with your self-care, you hire someone to help you with it. You hire someone to keep you accountable. I have a client who has ADHD, and my entire job is to create structure through our monthly membership to make sure that she actually gets shit done. I have another client who her entire self-care with me is doing Reiki to balance her energy. So it's being able to find someone who can customize to your needs is really important. And if you want something in person, Like I'm in Minneapolis, I'm in the Twin Cities. I do travel to people, but you have to travel me. I'm not going to pay $1,000 to fly out to see you to give you an hour session. You fly me out. I actually will be leaving in 10 days to see a client in Colorado because they are sending me out to bless their house, do all of their animal work. They rescue boxers to ward their space. They just bought a new mansion and to do their one-on-one sessions also. So those options are available for like the high flyers who are like, yeah, I'll just fly you out for a week and we'll just do an intensive for a week every year. Those are absolutely available. And I love those because you can get a lot done in a week when you're doing stuff like this. Absolutely. So going forth with your self-care, whether you do it with a professional or not, make sure that you're doing what's best for you. Make sure that you're taking the steps. It does not happen overnight. And believe it or not, it's the little things that we forget that are important. Where I was like, it has to be a big thing. It has to be a surgery. It has to be life-changing. You want to know what 85% of my self-care clients have a problem with? The basics. Sleep, emotional regulation, drinking enough water, eating food that actually feeds their body and soul. These things that are like normal human things that people are like, I breathe, I'm still alive, it don't matter. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And you're messing it up. So when people think that self-care needs to be super difficult, it doesn't. The vast majority of the time, you biffed on something simple and you think it's big because a big would be so much easier to like set a bone if you broke your leg or something versus like, hey, maybe you should breathe better. Maybe you should drink more water. And maybe you should drink water in a way that your body allows because self-care isn't just like a blanket statement. It's figuring out exactly what you need for your self-care. So some people can like chug a glass of water every hour and that's great. I know many people who can only sip water throughout the day and that's how they stay hydrated. So if you're chugging water, but your body and your soul is really a sipper, you're not doing it in an effective way for yourself. If you need to sleep 8 hours and you're only sleeping 6, if you need to sleep in complete silence, but there's always noise, anything like that. Like me, I sleep a lot. I love sleep, but if I don't get enough sleep, I turn into apparently a homicidal biatch, as I was informed these past few weeks, where my lack of sleep finally caught up to me and made me not a rainbow full of sunshine, but a very angry human who yelled a lot, a lot. So go forth and make these decisions as you see fit. And remember that if you want to see more, if you want to get involved, you follow, you share, you comment, and I will be as active as I can across social media and have as much fun with you guys as possible because self-care, spirituality, metaphysical work does not need to be reverent. I believe that at least a third of the time, probably half, it should be an irreverent experience that just makes you giggle. Your life should be fun. None of this has to be serious. I hope you joke around with it a lot. And with that, I will be in Denver at the first weekend of August, holding a retreat at a Victorian mansion. So if you want to have that kind of fun, that is absolutely available. The link is in the bio to contact me and we can get you on the list immediately. The first person to pay in full gets upgraded to VIP automatically, which is a huge savings and a huge deal. And I am super excited about it. So go forth, be the hero of your own story, and remember that your self-care needs to look like it does for you, not anybody else. Have a great day, everybody.